Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Yes, it's cold. Today's topic is going to be about trauma, particularly to do with the workplace and how you should just shine your light anyway. So yeah, check it out. Today's topic is going to be around trauma. I have had to come to terms recently with a lot of incidents with other people where they have been very disrespectful towards me. They've been racist, they've been misogynistic, they've been ageist. I pretty much ran through the whole list of ists with other people, and it's really difficult because I didn't really have, or I at least wasn't aware of these things as much growing up, which obviously is strange being black, but I think the environment that I was in, because I live in London, it's very multicultural. I didn't really have loads and loads of instances where I was exposed to a lot of racism. There was one incident though where when I was about 18, a guy, he stopped to let me cross the road, and then when he saw that I was black, he sped up like as if to run me over. And I was actually with my friend at the time. This was over. This was over 10 years ago. And she was angrier than I was. She was furious because, yeah, what the hell are you doing? And when we crossed safely, he wound his window down and he just said the N word at me. And that was like my first, or at least as far as I can recall, my first experience of someone being directly racist towards me. Now, fast forward to the modern day where I work somewhere where I, for the first time, have a responsibility of managing other people. So I've had roles as a manager before, haven't actually had management responsibilities before. So I'm in a role now where I have to kind of, delegate to people and also provide a greater level of support to people at the same time. There's like HR things that maybe come up, or, their personal issues, or they want to do development and they need to take periods of leave, or they're having, maternity cover or things like that that's needed, right? When you're black and you're in England and you're a woman and you present younger than you are, the level of disrespect is so freaking high. Like, it's so high that it shocked me. And obviously, I'm a very smart person. I had a really good education. I was in, the gifted and talented program as a kid. And my intelligence was recognized, and it was where I went to school. As much as I despised going to school, again, because I was a black kid in a predominantly white school, and I was from a working class background, and most of the people were from, middle class, or maybe some even upper middle class perhaps. I was at odds with that environment, but because I was smart, I was able to, do my GCSEs, do my A levels, and get myself into a good situation. And there were instances there of racism. There were instances there of hostility, less so from other students, but really like from staff. And there was one incident where it was a sort of thing that happens in all workplaces where, word quickly spread. So I had done or said something in a class. It's much more likely that I said something because it's unlikely that I would really do anything. I wasn't really a naughty kid. Word spread. Someone else who was then teaching me the following day found out, and they then made me they made me sit in the middle of the room. So like, you'd have your desk, you sit behind your desk, and they made me sit just in the middle of the room, so no desk, just me on a chair holding, I guess, a book or whatever for the duration of the class. And it was like this level of punishment where you've singled me out, I've never seen you do to another student ever. And I haven't done anything to you. You've taken it upon yourself to put me here. And years later, I saw this person who's actually now dead. And I said to them, like, why did you do that? You know? And he was just like, oh, well, you know, I don't remember. You know, I was always disciplining people. And it was just like, nah, I think when it comes to stuff like that, once you get to a certain age and you recognize patterns of behavior, people's facial expressions, the microaggressions, the things that they say that they maybe don't yet necessarily communicate to you with words, you know eventually what you're looking at when you're looking at it. And so, you know, in the modern day where I've been, in the last year, I've been doing a lot of public speaking. I've been putting myself out there and like really going for opportunities. And obviously you get your rejections, you get this and that. I shared with a colleague that I had got an opportunity. And this particular opportunity was something that they had been doing for a while. And part of the reason why I was interested in doing it was because they were doing it and it sounded great. So at the start of last year, I made sure that I would apply for any of these opportunities whenever they came up. And eventually I managed to snag one. I got an interview for one. I've been shortlisted down from like 200 people and things like that. And okay, I will come back to that one. It's just so much. There's just so much. I told my colleague that I got this opportunity. And they said to me, well, it's much easier these days because, you know. And she pointed at my arm. So she was referring to me only being able to get the opportunity because of the colour of my skin. She said, you know, I've been doing this for 20 years, don't you? And I said, yeah, that's why I wanted to share it with you. I wanted to like talk about it because obviously you've been doing it. Now I'm doing it somewhere else. And I said, you know, what would be really cool is if like, you know, you found a way to do it longer term. And she was like, well, that's what I've been trying to do. Why don't you do it? And then when you do it, you let me know. And I was like, wow. Okay. Going back to the interview that I had, I came in, I sat down, the interview questions were terrible, and the woman offered me a cup of tea. I know this is a slight aside, but the woman offered me a cup of tea. And I said, yeah, great. It was freezing that day. It may have been snowing. It was really cold, like bitterly cold. And I said, oh yeah, yes, please, I'll have a tea. Sat down. And she said, do you want milk? And she was like, oat milk, regular milk, what milk do you want? And I was like, oh, can I just have normal milk is fine. You can make it yourself. And the interview was so incredibly unnecessarily tense. Like, okay, for me, I feel like there's a few things happening. There's the thing happening where you've done something. It could be that you made a funny face. It could be that you set a tone and they got triggered and they took it a certain way. It could be simply that your visible physical appearance is a threat to them, whether that's because of, it doesn't even have to be skin, it could just be your walk, your stride, the way that you move. It could remind them of someone. Like I know someone who, let's just say, was mistreated by their ex-husband, and we had to leave a pub because she saw someone that looked exactly like him. So you never know like what is going to trigger people, but it was just so weird that make it yourself comment after offering me tea. I barely said a word to this person. Going back to the colleague, I had never had any real major issues with this person. She'd made a few comments about like race stuff before. Obviously she's, well, maybe I shouldn't say obviously, but she's white, right? and she's an older person. But I didn't see it as being... I just thought it was a symptom of her age, and where she'd been teaching for all of this time, there'd been no issues with her work, or as far as I was aware. I didn't think that there was anything deeper than that. But obviously, I look at it in a number of ways. For me, being in a situation that I've been in where I'm managing people, some of them older, some of them being around a lot longer, but also showing myself to be very visibly competent, putting myself on stage in front of 400 plus people and really putting myself out there, going for opportunities and things like that. I didn't realise that could be seen as very triggering for other people who haven't been able to do that. I wasn't really thinking about other people. I was thinking, how can I move myself forward? How can I put myself in a better position? So, working with people who've been around in their jobs for decades and things like that, someone like me is really triggering, because I'm not interested in sitting around in the same job. I'm not interested in, I don't see the value in like maintaining my position in one specific place, because there's so many things that I want to see, there's so many things that I want to be, there's so many things that I want to do, and I can't do those things if I'm wedged in. Now, for those other people seeing me get these opportunities, it is quite rude to be like, she only got it because of the colour of her skin. No, I got it because I consistently applied to these things. I consistently put myself out there. I consistently tweet what I was doing. I consistently built upon what I was doing and worked hard behind the scenes. And I think that for all of this talk of nepotism and people getting opportunities and things like that, anything that I've got, by and large, the majority of things that I've got in my life, I haven't got because someone handed them to me. I've got because I put myself where I needed to put myself. And I'm, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not where I want to be. I'm behind where I want to be. But to other people, I'm doing so many things. And like, my friend will be like, you constantly talk about your small wins, and that you haven't achieved much, or that, you want to go harder or whatever. But actually, all of your wins have been big wins this year. This is talking, the year just gone. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I think it's because in my mind, I have a vision of where I want to be. I have a vision of who I want to be. And I have the reality of where I am right now, and they're worlds apart. And obviously I recognize that my vision, my dreams, my things are, how can I describe it? They're huge. They're huge, big things. Which is why I don't want to talk to people about it, because I know that most people, they have their limiting beliefs, let's just say. And I think in England, there's a culture of like not getting too big for your boots, not being too proud to like, don't be too proud, don't show off, don't do this, don't do that, don't, be humble, to quote Erling Haaland, be humble. And you see how that plays out. Whereas, maybe if I lived somewhere else, maybe if I lived in America, maybe if I was some other country, someone with my ambition could really thrive. But instead, I'm seen as a threat. But meanwhile, I'm not even looking at those people. I'm not looking at those people in any way. They're where they are and where they want to be. I have my vision, my mission, my goals. And I don't really even know what I'm trying to say here. I think I'm just putting my feelings in the air. But effectively, the message that I'm giving is to you who may be listening, but it's mainly to me to say what? That no matter what I do, no matter what size I am, no matter what shade of brown my skin is, whether I do or don't straighten my hair, no matter what I say to people, there's always going to be someone out there who wants to be negative about it, wants to tear me down, wants to tell me all the reasons why I'm not that gal, but I am. And it's just going to have to be tough. It's just going to have to be tough for other people. They're just going to have to deal with their own triggers. It's not my responsibility. I don't need to dampen my light just to make them feel better and to make them feel like they can shine. They can shine if they want to shine. I should not be a factor in their happiness, self-worth, or anything like that. And likewise, they should not be a factor in my self-worth. My self-worth is its own independent, curated unit that I have developed and built. And people trying to weaponize my physical appearance, and you know, to some extent the content of my character, because people often don't like that I'm direct, but I feel like that is how you should be. People don't like that I like to hold myself accountable and as a result other people accountable, but apparently I have no business in holding other people accountable. They need to do it off their own back. This is a ramble. Maybe this should be a podcast of some sort, but effectively this is a message to me once again to say you're amazing, you are fabulous, you consistently show up for yourself, you consistently put yourself out there, you consistently do great things, and you are amazing. And yeah, that's all from me.